Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks related to your birthday project for Multisim Live. So let's call it tips for birthday project. Let's say, for example, in your circuit, what a lot of people were saying that their issue was that in their circuit, sometimes it got a little bit too big. In the project, if you want to use two inputs, three inputs, four input AND gates, that's fine. Like it doesn't really matter how many inputs you use for the project. If you want to use, whatever number of inputs, that's okay, including three inputs. So if you want to use these type of gates, that's okay. Okay, for the project, that is okay. Um, Now, let's say, for example, your circuit becomes too large to the point that you can't fit it anymore. Well, there is a way for you to make the sheet bigger. You can have the sheet as big as you want according to the project or according to the complication of the project that you have. All you have to do is go to the right-hand side, click on the little gear. That little gear will give you an option that says Documents, which means the sheet, right? That sheet of paper that you're talking about here for this particular circuit. At the bottom of that, you'll see where it says Sheet Settings. It says width 100 and height 70. You can change those values to something bigger or something smaller. Let's say, for example, I change it to 50 by 50. That'll make the sheet smaller. And as you can see, my window where I could actually operate and have the circuit is much smaller. Obviously, you don't want that. You want bigger size so that you could actually fit your project. So I'm going to change that setting to 200 by 200 so that I can have enough space to work on my project. So there should be plenty of space for you. You can actually modify those settings for you to be able to fit the project. The other thing that you want to change is right here where it says logic levels. Right above that, it says 3.3 volts. I would highly recommend for you to change that to 5 volts because the 7 segment display runs on 5 volts. So just change that to 5V. That way, when you put your ones and your zeros for your digital constants, that can be 1 or 0, as in 5 volts or 0 volts. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about here. Now, if I click on the digital constant, right, so that little um, constant that I have here, this component. Now you'll see that when I click on it, it says DG1, and then the setting here where it says mode, it's set to 5 volts. Okay. The last thing that I will share with you is the 7 segment display. So some people are having issues with their 7 segment display or with their voltage source. So that way you don't fall under the same mistake for that. So let's go to the indicators, which one of those indicators is the 7 segment display. So if I put the 7 segment display somewhere, so let's say I put it right in the middle, make sure that your 7 segment display is set to the same thing that we have on the birthday project. The birthday project says that you need to have a 7 segment display that is a common cathode, right? So it says it right there on number 2, common cathode display. So make sure that when you have Multisim Live, you change that display on Multisim Live to a common cathode display. Okay, so just click on the display. Right now, it's set to CA, which is common anode, which is not what I want, right? I want common cathode. So I need to click on that drop-down menu, change that to CC, and then that'll basically be it for my circuit. So common cathode means that internally everything's connected to ground, which means that a 0 will be no voltage and a 1 will be voltage, right? So if you want the LED to turn on, you need to connect it to power. So that's what that means. So that's exactly what we need for our circuit. Now, that being said, the last thing that people are having issues with is the voltage source. Well, you can have a voltage source up here that should be connected to voltage or to 5 volts. If you want to cheat and just say like, okay, like I'm just gonna take the easiest option, you can try to put a digital constant here, and you basically just connect it to a digital constant of a 1, because right now the common cathode should be connected um, to voltage up here, or actually C minus. I think it's supposed to be connected to ground. Apologies. Let me double check on that. But basically, right here, you would connect it to the digital constant of 1 or a 0 if you wanted to display a digital 1 or a 0. Let me put another digital constant here so you can see exactly what I mean. So let's turn this. Let's say I want to connect this to segment B, whatever. If I click on the simulation, So it says there's no ground node was found. Okay, so let me change this to 0. Okay, so for the common, uh, what is this again? Having a brain fart. Common cathode 7-segment display should be connected to ground, right? So basically make sure that it's connected to common cathode, and then make sure that it's connected to ground. If you want to cheat, if you don't want to use a voltage source, if you want to use a digital constant of 0, you can use that and make sure that it's 0 on top. Okay, but make sure you don't flip that or toggle that to anything else, because it'll mess up your output. Now, if you want to use an actual ground source, basically all you could do is go to the uh, power source here and basically get a ground connector and connect this literally to a ground. The reason why I prefer this is because you can't really change it. Once it's set to ground, it's permanently there, and you can't click out of it and then mess up your whole circuit afterwards. So then basically now it should do the exact same thing that it did before, right? So now if I want to turn this off, it'll be a 0. If I want to turn this on, it'll be a 1. Okay. So I hope that this was helpful. If there's any issues, please let me know. If you're using a voltage source, the one thing that I will say when you're using a voltage source is that some people are having issues with the voltage source because they're connecting a DC voltage and they're connecting it the wrong way. So if they connect it a certain way, like for example here, let's say I connect this wire from here to there, right? And then let's say I want to connect the bottom one to ground. So ideally what I want to do is I want to connect the top to ground. But right here, the problem is that I'm not connecting it to ground. I'm actually connecting it to power. And if I'm connecting it to power, nothing is going to happen on the 7-segment display. So be very careful which way this thing is actually oriented, right? So the little voltage source, if you choose to do that voltage source, then make sure that you have 0 volts here when it comes to the common cathode display for it to work properly. Here, as you can tell, based on the probe, I'm connected to 5 volts, so I don't want that. I want to connect it to ground, so make sure that you actually modify this so it actually gives you a proper circuit. If you do it this way, and then at the end of the day, you get something that is incorrect, make sure you use your probe to make sure that you're actually plugging it into the right, giving it the correct value. Okay, make sure that it's not upside down. All right, so I hope this was helpful, guys. Make sure you watch this video, and yeah, good luck on the project. If you guys have any questions, I'll be at tutoring tomorrow.